film and to a digital camera, I still think is photography. Whereas when you get to iPhone, it goes from photography to content.
All right, Rob. So what is working and what's not working with your hair?
Well, I have a lot of it, and it's very thick, and I'm hiding under a hat right now.
Mm-hmm.
I want to kind of go shaggy.
Shaggy.
I'm actually kind of digging the length.
Okay.
But it's just too thick.
Okay.
I don't know if the term undercut is the right thing, but like meter down below.
Okay.
But keeping length and shagginess. That's all I've got here.
Fantastic. Awesome. So, all right. So that gave me some ideas, but like we got to pin it down. So here's what I was wondering. Are you planning on growing the hair longer than where it currently is?
Yes.
Okay, good. My length is too long.
Yeah, too long.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. So we're not going my length, but you want to go a bit longer.
Yeah.
Do you want this hair to cover your ears?
Potentially. Yeah.
Okay. So when you're saying undercut, is it just that you feel that this hair on the sides and the back is just too overwhelming?
Yeah. It's just going out.
It's going out this way. And you want it to be a little bit more leaner.
Yeah.
Cool. And then on the top here, are you gonna use or are you using any products right now?
No.
Zero.
Will
you?
It depends if I'm wearing a hat or not. If I'm wearing a hat, no.
Do you want to always have to wear a hat?
No.
Okay, it's a legitimate question. I had this one guy client years ago, and he
just shaved the top of his head.
No. That's funny. He would get this really great haircut, and then he put on his hat. And I asked him, I go, why are you putting on that? He goes, I always wear a baseball hat. He goes, I only care about my haircut the few times my job requires me to show up, and I can't wear my hat. He's like, outside of that, I live in my hat in like a baseball hat. And he would just always, he'd walk in, wear a baseball hat, and he'd leave wearing a baseball hat.
I wear a hat a lot, but it's not every day.
My goal is not to take the length off.
Mm-hmm.
It's to put a lot of shorter little bits in throughout.
Yeah.
That's going to give you a few things. One, it's going to help reduce the density. It's going to make it appear to be less bulky.
Yeah.
And it's also going to create more interesting pieces because you have short and long. So the texture is not just going to be on the ends, it's going to be on the interior as well.
Cool.
Go through and do that. And you got a fun cowlick up here with your curls.
Yeah.
So the other thing too is if you're wanting your hair to have more separation, let's say you put a product in, you're letting your hair dry.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say air dry is most of my guy clients don't like using a blow dryer.
I'm not going to get a blow dryer out. I don't think my wife's given owns one. So,
okay. If you put product in when it's more wet and you, almost like right when you get out of the shower,
mm-hmm.
and then you put product in and then you squeeze the water out after the product's been applied, you'll actually get more of that separation.
Cool.
But if you put it in when it's like towel dried, you won't get that.
Okay.
So if you want it to not feel so solid in texture and shape, or seeing, there's the short pieces, here's the long pieces, and you're going to create a little bit more openness in it.
Okay.
Cool.
All
right. I'm going to keep you up, spray you down since I know your hair is clean.
Check you out.
What?
It's a new cloth.
Yeah. Well, I've had these.
We've never had this one.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's black one.
Oh, I have a dark gray one.
Yeah.
I have a dark gray one. Yeah, but
I feel like a knight.
I wanted a logo that just kind of didn't look super hairdressy. That was it. All right. So you are a photographer.
Yeah.
And I have plenty of questions for you. Some of them that I don't think I've ever asked you when I've cut your hair previously.
Cool.
All right. And I also have some questions I want to ask about now living here in America. So, because I think that's always a fun one for me, talking to individuals when they come to America, and then have that same kind of conversation after they've been here for a while. So, like, I'm going to have both those conversations today.
Okay,
cool. So, how long have you been a photographer?
I would say that I started when I was 18, so I'm now 32.
Okay.
And I say 18 is because I decided to go to university to study photography. Before that, I wanted to be a physiotherapist, but I'm way too squeamish and fainted too many times.
Wait, what did you faint on?
Like, 'cause to be a physiotherapist, I wanted to be a sports physio because that was like my main background before photography.
Yeah.
But like to be studied to be a physiotherapist, you have to go through like car accident physio or like rehab from pretty serious injuries, not just like sports injuries. And so like I would start my course and then I actually fainted off the top, like off of a stool. Like why? Like in science class, they always put like the stools and benches really high.
Yeah.
And so then you'd be sat really high without anything to support your back, and I would faint. And I actually cracked my head open on the back. So I was like, probably physiotherapy is probably not for me. So I just pivoted. Yeah, I pivoted and actually took photography at what I call college. I don't know what you guys call it. High school. I don't know. As like a filler class. Okay. I was like, I'm pretty good at this. And then instead of going to do physiotherapy at university, I went to do photography.
When you said you're already taking it as a filler course, right?
Yeah.
What drew you originally to want to take that filler course of photography?
I always found it interesting. I also studied art and things like that as well. But my great granddad always had a Super 8 film around. And my dad always had cameras around. And so it was just kind of one of those things which I was around it all the time. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't like a major part of my life. But I just always knew it was aware of it being there.
Yeah.
And actually I used some of my great granddad's kind of footage in later projects in my third year of university. So
that's cool. So you just said, all right, I'm passing out. I'm getting my head split open in these medical classes.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do photography. Did you have any other like ideas? Because it doesn't seem like it was, I mean, on the surface, it feels kind of like it was just like a knee jerk response. Like, I guess I'll just do this.
It was like a family thing of like, almost like an expectation to go to university. My dad's a doctor of chemistry. Okay. So it's PhD level, intelligent. And my mum had just done my mum's a priest in the Church of England. And so she had to do a degree in theology. Uh-huh. And I don't know, it was just one of those things where like I felt like I had to go to university. Yeah. Whether it was the right course or not, or like the right path for photography or not is a different question. And so I just thought, cool, I'll go to university and do photography. That seems pretty easy, right?
When you say it seems pretty easy, you mean like getting the degree or turning it into a career?
Probably both. I didn't expect it to be the course to be kind of as theory based as it was. I just wanted to go and learn how to take pretty pictures. And I thought it was going to be more along those lines, whereas actually I could have probably passed the photography course without ever taking a photograph.
Really?
Yeah.
How so?
You could write an essay on it. Like you could write your own photography degree. You didn't have to take photography, if almost that makes sense. Like for instance, like when I got my degree, I didn't get the highest level degree by any means, but my practical work was like a first, but my theory stuff was like a 2.2. And I ended up with a 2.2 being my overall grade.
Is that good?
It's like below the middle.
Okay.
It's not the best. It's not the worst. So I was kind of happy with that. But it's because I prioritized me coming out of university with a better portfolio than anybody else.
You did?
Yeah. Like I wanted to make sure that my portfolio was amazing. And one, I've never had a real interview for a photography job, but any clients never asked me for my degree essay. So to me, that was the right way around.
Would you recommend the same thing to somebody else who's like, you know what, I want to go to school. I want to go to university. I want to get a degree in photography. Do you think that the theory part matters as much now doing it for as long as you have? Like,
I probably find it more interesting now being older.
Yeah.
But at that time, and I think this is what everybody would say from a photographic point of view, or even just an artistic point of view. Like if you aren't that way inclined, I would always say I loved university. I still have friends. I still have collaborators that I work with daily from university. Yeah. But the degree isn't even on my CV, like on my resume.
Okay. I've always just been curious about that because I've always felt that like art school in particular is one of those things where you could score great on grades, but it doesn't really mean that your product lives up to.
I think I'm probably the only person from my school class that's actually a photographer and makes money from photography out of like 36 people.
I feel the same way about cosmetology school.
Yeah.
There's like, I think I'm the only one who's doing the traveling and the teaching and the education. And,
Yeah.
you know,
I can't think of anyone off the top of my head that's still a photographer.
I don't know anybody I graduated with that's still even doing hair.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we have that in common. You get out of university, and then your first gig is what?
Well, the thing that changed actually the way I looked at photography and what I wanted to do is in my first year, I had a visiting lecturer come in, and his name was Ben Kelway, and he kind of got the vibe that I didn't really want to be doing the theory stuff, and we just kind of connected quite well. And he asked me if I wanted to assist on the weekend, and I had no idea who or what I was going to assist on. And he said, you just need to be here at this time and you can assist, and you'll be like a 4th, 5th, 6th assistant.
It's a lot of us
just running around. And it ended up being one of the world's biggest fashion photographers, David Sims, shooting for American Vogue. And we were shooting, so it's David Sims, American Vogue. Grace Coddington was the stylist. We were shooting, it was just after, or just at the release time of Steven Spielberg's Warhorse movie, which the lead actor was Jeremy Irvine.
Okay.
And he was on set, and it was being shot in Cornwall. I went to Falmouth University. David Sims used to live in Cornwall, which now makes sense. And we were in Bodmin Moor, and it's like knee-deep mud, like sludge, like just god-awful. And I had to like fireman's lift Jeremy Irving out of his tent because he wore like bright white Nike high tops and wouldn't walk through it. And so I had to like fireman's lift this like new upcoming actor over to like the makeup tent and stuff. And like Grace Coddington, on the other hand, like this like 7-year-old lady who is like been there, done that. Like I just help her down the steps, and she's like just in the mud all over it. Like she was great. But that was like my first ever assistant gig. Like Arizona Muse was the female model for the shoot, and it was just complete deep end. Like I wasn't anyone named on set. Like I was literally like 5th, 6th assistant, like running around just grabbing stuff. But like that's when I realized like this is what I want to do. I want to be like up there, and I want like the first assistant at the time for Sims at that time was a guy called Biane, who's now a photographer in his own right. And I managed to assist him on a few occasions like after that. And that was like the moment where I was like, cool, this is what I'm going to do.
Was this also like your first time ever interacting with like celebrities or
Yeah.
of that type too?
Yeah, for sure.
So how old are you when this happens?
I'd be 19. I'd be 18 because I'm a baby. Yeah, but I'm a July baby. So I'd be 18 turning 19.
That's crazy. And I want to talk a little bit about Grace Coddington. Because she just seems like she's really cool.
Yeah, it was one of those things like that comparison of like new actor didn't want to get his white trainers dirty to Grace Coddington like with like great big hunter boots on, just trudging through Bodmin Moor. She was just cool. She was cool.
And is she still with Vogue?
I don't think she's no. I don't think so.
No. I was actually, it's so funny because I knew about her in 2 different ways. One, I knew who she was because of her role in Vogue. And she has quite a prominent role in, I should say not role, but there's a lot about her in the September issue. Which you've seen, I'm assuming.
I think she guest said it, and so whether she's actually employed by Vogue, I don't know, but she's definitely involved. But I don't know.
Yeah, she's involved. Yeah, because she's she talks about it. And then the other thing is, as a hairdresser,
so
she was used so many times as a model for Vidal Sassoon.
5-point haircut.
Exactly. It's insane.
So the photographer that took that photo is David Montgomery, and I have signed prints from David Montgomery, and I used to assist with his son, Max Montgomery, who's also a photographer in his own right.
Oh my gosh. Is he still alive?
Yeah, David Montgomery, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That would be so cool to have a 5-point signed. Like that would be...
Get your checkbook out. I can hook you up. But
yeah, no, it's such a iconic it's such an iconic photo.
Yeah, David Montgomery took that photo of the 5-point haircut, which is the profile of Grace Coddington. That's David Montgomery, and yeah.
Have you met David Montgomery?
Yeah. So he came in on a shoot. We did a photo shoot with him when I was assisting another photographer in London.
That's cool. So like that whole world of fashion like that to me is like so far removed from like my world when I was like 18. So I'm like fashion, all these things. And I'm just like, that's so fun. So that was like your first like big aha, right? You're like, okay, this is it. Like full speed ahead. And you're still at university.
Yeah.
So you're still in the university. You've done your first big like assistant gig. Let's just say it like big in the sense that it's like a pivotal shift now.
Yeah.
Does that change your focus and direction at that point?
Yeah. So I concentrated on my portfolio, kind of sacked off all the kind of theory side of stuff. And then in any holiday or any opportunity that I got, whether it being with another photographer or I went and got a job at Spring Studios, which is in kind of North London, and Spring Studios is like one of the maybe 3 big studios that you'd go in to be a studio assistant. So you're just running coffees, you're grabbing gear, like you're cleaning up the studio, you're painting the cove, like you are like the bottom of the list of like importance, but it gets you all that kind of contacts and they're in front of the right people. And it was the hardest work I've ever done, like by far. Studio assistants are
like physically,
mentally, emotionally, like you're treated pretty badly. You have to work. You have to be there like hours before the shoot starts, and the shoot call time could be like 6 a.m. So you're probably in at kind of 4:30, 5 latest, making sure the studio's set up. And then you're there afterwards. And then also like at the studio, you then have to repaint the cove, which is the studio backdrop. And like some of this, like a spring, like in London, like Studio IJ or Studio G, like those coves are enormous. Like they're seamless, like they are enormous. And like I've had shoots where like they would pour paint on it. So you'd have to like black paint or like sand stuff off. And like you have to have that cove perfect for the next day, for the next client coming in. And your supervisor would like be in at, I don't know, 4 a.m., 5 a.m. And if it's not ready, or like if it's bad, like your job's bad afterwards, they'd call you and be like, hey, you got to come in and fix this, or you just wouldn't work again.
Yeah, that sounds grueling. How long did you do that for?
Every holiday and stuff that I had while still at university. So 3 years.
So that first,
but like on and off, it wasn't like 3 years solid. It was like all the holidays, any kind of free time, anytime I was in London, like, yeah.
And how far was it that you grew up from London?
I had my family home's like half an hour train journey.
So it's actually like not terribly far.
No.
Do you think that growing up in that proximity to London was an advantage?
Yeah. So I'm from Yorkshire in the UK originally, which is Northern England. I moved when I was 9 years old for my dad's job. And the opportunity that I had in the outskirts of London would be far different from what I would have had if I was still living up there. Also, just being able to like save money and not have to live in central London and all those kind of things, like definitely.
I'm just thinking because like this stuff is, because I only know really of the one photographer that I know that you had worked with that is one of my favorite photographers, which is that he shot a lot with Dazed and Confused. And then, I'm imagining, so what year was this for you? 2000. So you're like 18 or 19. This is like around what, 20?
18?
20.
I'm a 90s kid, so that works, right?
So you're around what year was this? 2010?
So 2008. Yeah, 2008, it would have been 18. 2009, yeah, that's it.
Okay, because as a hairdresser, I remember there was like, that was when I remember seeing like a lot of that photographer. And I remember they did like this insert in Dazed and Confused for all the Tony and Guy. They shot all the employees as if they were the models because the employees looked as cool, if not even cooler than some of the models that they had. And I just remember seeing that. I was like, I'm like, Rankin is like dope. And that was like probably the first time I started really paying attention to photographers.
Yeah.
Because it crossed my world of, I've always had an interest in photography, but it crossed into my world of hairdressing where at the time you have these like really like, almost look like really stale, like frozen old stuff. Yeah, it looks like somebody would have gotten like at the like the JC Penney, Walmart, like, hey, I need to take a photo, and then it's like the blue background. I call it the old school realtor photo.
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
like that's what it seemed like. And then I always felt that Tony and Guy always did a lot more of a fashion edge to their hair photography than everybody else, and it was just cool to see that Rankin stuff. And so when you told me that you had worked with Rankin, I was like, what?
Yeah, 3 years.
I bet that was that the first time you came to the States with him?
No, so he's based in London as well. He's actually based literally like...
Oh, no, sorry. Let me rephrase my question. The first time he came to the States,
yeah,
was that with Rankin, or was that like on a whole separate occasion?
So working wise, now I'd come like it was a whole separate occasion. I come to the States like working multiple times before with other photographers.
Okay.
Rankin was based in London.
Yeah.
But my big exposure to the US probably was with Rankin because he still owned a studio at the time in LA.
Okay.
And so we spent a lot of time in LA.
What was your first time that you came to the States? What was that like? Were there any expectations from movie and media and cinema and stuff like that about what you thought it was going to be like? And also, where did you first land?
So my first ever time in the States, work-wise or holiday?
Either or, because I just want to know what that initial, like...
It's like I was a kid, like I came to New York with my parents and like that was amazing. And then like that kind of set a goal of like living in the States. Like, but it's different. Like I must have been like 12 or something like crazy or like crazy young. Like, so, but you go to New York and you go to kind of central, then it's just crazy and lights and it looks amazing and everything's different. And then I think the next time I got to go was with university, and we got to go and meet a load of photographers, like, and do the museums and kind of do the arty stuff that we should have done. But also just that first thing of like, we're 18, 19 and we had to kind of look after ourselves in New York City. It's not like we were with our teachers and kind of lecturers all the time. And then that was like the point where I was like, cool, I'm going to live here at some point. Like I'm definitely going to make it work. And then I was assisting a photographer called Raphael Stalin, and he eventually was like, hey, I'm going to move to New York. You can come with me if you want. And I was assisting him full time and was like, yeah, let's go. Like, that's what I wanted to do. That was my goal. And I got to move and I lived with him like in Williamsburg for like in his like open plan apartment for like a few months. And then I moved in with my friend, Tom, who actually, I knew back from London. He was a clothing designer for like American Eagle and stuff.
Okay.
But we lived in like an apartment not much bigger than this room. Like together.
Well, I mean, okay. So for anyone who's never been into it, this in this podcast, I have to break the fourth wall to like give some sort of like relevance. Most individuals, when they go to New York, they stay in a hotel.
Yeah.
And everyone always wonders how big an apartment is.
Yeah.
And I've always said like, it's probably smaller than the hotel that you're staying in.
Yeah.
Like, this room is about the size of an apartment I've been in. I mean, this is a 10 by 10 room with 14-foot ceilings. And the 14-foot ceilings are actually a common thing sometimes in there. Like, they have these old factories. We
had a mezzanine and that's where we slept. But like the mezzanine was like a triangle shape across it. It still had like 14. And then like the upstairs was like the beds. And then like underneath that was like all underneath there was like the desk, a kitchen, the toilet. And the kitchen's like, that's exaggerated to like a microwave and a sink.
Another example that I'm thinking about is when you go into an IKEA and you see that they've been able to put a bike, 20 pairs of shoes, a kitchen, a desk, a dining kitchenette, a refrigerator, and then there's like a full bike. Yeah. 2 bikes strapped to the wall. You're like, who would ever live like this?
Everyone in New York.
Everyone in New York. Exactly.
Yeah. So that's where I lived in.
Did you have an elevator, or how many floors did you have to walk up?
No elevator. It was, walking up. So it was like 5-6 flights of stairs.
So no gym membership.
No. But also like I used to walk everywhere anyway, like just from being back home. So in New York's walkable, unlike Austin.
Yeah. Here in Austin, not very walkable.
No.
20 minutes in any direction, you're still nowhere near where you need to be. Unless you're in downtown.
Downtown's fine. But like pavements, just like sidewalks just disappear. Like they just stop. Cool.
Mm-hmm. You never had this like hesitation. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm going to New York. I just seen these Law and Orders. Do they have a Law and Order over there?
Lawn. I know what it is, but no.
No. But say if they had that, it would have been a very different idea of like, oh gosh, I'm going to this place.
No, I was just super excited about it.
How long have you now lived in the States?
So I lived in New York at that time for like, maybe like 2 years. I was in there, and then I went back home, and then I moved out here. I permanently with my wife in 2019, the October of 2019. So I'm in my 4th year.
4th year here.
Yeah.
Continuously.
Yeah.
And you and I both met through the camera store.
Yeah.
And that was like, what? Was it 21 or 20? I think it was 21.
I think it was 21 because it was just coming out of end of COVID, but COVID was still kind of there.
Yeah.
Like depending on who you talk to in Texas, and never existed. I think the weirdest thing about that the whole time was just the fact that in Texas, you wasn't quite sure what the story was or what the person next to you thought about it, and no one talked about it. It was the weirdest thing like ever. Like that class where we met, like it was a really hot day. There's lights and stuffs on in there. Like it gets really hot in there. It is hard, like when you're sweating and like talking in front of people, like to keep a mask on and like not be able to feel like you're suffocating in it. And then also at the same time, like some people wanted you to keep it on, some people wanted it off, some people never wore a mask. It was the weirdest thing to like treading on eggshells to not upset somebody in the room.
What was funny to me is during that time we went to a water park.
Yeah.
During like, it was like the only thing that was open, or like, well, it's outside, let's just go. Like, it's hot, you know? And for like about 30 feet, when you went into the building to pay, that was when the mask was required.
Yeah.
But the minute after that, it was like off. It's like, we're like, all right, we're in the middle. Like, all right, here we are in the year 2020. We're inside. We have our mask on. You know, outside. Boom. We are now in the year 2019.
Yeah. It was strange.
It was very, it was really interesting because like movie theaters were open, like once everything opened up in like May of 2020, it was like June.
Yeah.
All the movie theaters are open.
Yeah.
And then California, my friends are like talking to me like, oh, like, wait, movie theaters are open? I'm like, they're not open there. Like it became like, this is the only world I knew at this point, you know?
Well, I also like loads of jobs purely because like cool jobs because we were in Texas and things were open and nowhere else where you'd normally go, like New York or LA or any other photography destinations were open enough for people to be able to do production and things like that. Absolutely. And so whether it was right or wrong call is a different thing. But
I stay out of the right or wrong.
Yeah. I got work here purely being based here, and I base myself here because I can be between those two places quite easily. But people came here to do quite big productions purely because it was open.
I think that was like one of the things that I enjoyed is like, I felt like there was in the early beginnings, there was a lot more also concerts coming to Texas.
Yeah.
There was just a lot more coming here.
Yeah.
And I just remember like I had friends out in California, like, oh, I'm going to come out and visit you. I'm like, come on out. We can go to a bar. What? Yeah. So I remember cause I forgot how it happened. I think I was like, I know what it was. I was on Facebook and I got a promoted ad for the camera store about your lighting and photography class.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And then of course, me being either, you know, I always say it's like either I'm really crafty and smart and methodical, or I'm just a big idiot. I just message people like a totally fearless, like, hey, I can't wait to come see your class.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm probably the annoying guy right now, but I probably was the annoying guy. But I was really excited because I've never done anything like that.
And I didn't realize, like, other than like, that was like a COVID filler for me as well. Like just to kind of have some work where I wasn't openly looking for it, but if it came in and those guys, when I went in and they were my local camera show, I literally lived 10 minutes away from them at the time. And so it was like, cool, yeah, I'll come and teach some classes for you. Like I've got the time. There's not much else coming in. So it was kind of like a good filler of work for me. So I was like, yeah, that's fine. So it's something else that I'd never really done before. But
what I thought was great is that you were able to explain things in a way that did not feel intimidating and it did not feel condescending.
I appreciate that.
There's like, I've been around hairdressers who have accolades like crazy. And some of those individuals make you feel super comfortable.
Yeah.
And then there's other ones that make you feel absolutely inferior.
I think also just the standard, like the other people that lecture in those classes are usually people that are sponsored by a camera brand or particular products. And so will be condescending to whatever camera you turn up to with, or like, because they're sponsored by a camera brand, think that that's, like, funny, I'll just probably say like, not many of the people in there actually are probably working photographers outside of the brand of photographers that the brand of camera that they're sponsored by. I think there's some good guys that lecture in there, but there's a very small percentage of the guys in there that are.
I do remember one thing is you did tell a lady that she could not shoot through the viewfinder, like this screen.
Not in that class.
She was just like, you're like,
I also like worked with the old school photographers still shooting on film and things like that, and like having to load film cameras and 5.4 cameras and stuff like that. I'm not of the generation where I can take a photo behind, like looking through the screen of a mirrorless camera. That is not something that all right, one thing looks professional, but two, I'm just not that generation.
So can I ask you a little bit? I want to ask you something about photography with three things. One, digital cameras. And there are some people who have the thought that once you get a digital camera, you're automatically photographer. And then I also think there's the creepy guys, I'm calling them dudes with cameras.
Yeah, dudes with cameras.
Yeah, where they're like, I can shoot those sexy photos for you. I'm like, you're a creeper.
Yeah.
And then there's the popularity of the iPhone photography.
Yeah.
Which I think is a whole other thing for me.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't like shooting on this thing.
Yeah.
It's so foreign to me. And then you have film camera.
Yeah.
So since you've kind of started off in film and then you shoot in digital.
Yeah.
And I know you have an iPhone.
Yeah.
What do you think the biggest difference from film to digital photography that people who are now just getting into photography with a digital format, what is it? Or maybe you don't feel this. Are they missing anything?
So first of all, if I had to clarify, I would still shoot film if the world allowed to shoot film on if it was easy to process through and a timely manner that digital photography is. Whereas you've got to add 2-3 days more into just processing film from a good place.
And the cost is
huge.
I mean, it's massive.
Film is expensive. The cost of processing is expensive. And then also scanning it and all that kind of stuff adds cost into it. So budgets, things like that. And from that film point of view to the iPhone kind of spectrum is that film and to a digital camera, I still think is photography. Whereas when you get to iPhone, it goes from photography to content. And I think there's a big difference between what people want and expect for what they think photography is, and whether it's photography or content for the social media platform. I use a particular digital camera because I like it. It's what I'm comfortable with. And I think it's the easiest way and it is the most productive way. But if I had the budgets and time, I'd probably still shoot film.
Yeah.
When it comes to the iPhone, I think it's good for like quick things that, I don't know,
like your dessert or look at my meal.
Yeah.
I'm going to share with the world.
Like
hey,
classic,
look at this cocktail.
Like classic 2018 Instagram stuff. Like, yeah, look at the food that I've just bought. But just becoming recently a dad for the second time and looking back through photos of what I took of my first son, like realized how bad those were, like when it comes to wanting to print them and things like that. So for me, like I use my iPhone for general stuff, which isn't important to me. Like stuff that's kind of content, right? Okay. Like it's just stuff that I need to remember. I don't know, a receipt for accounts or something that I like on Instagram. Or I'll screenshot something that I find inspiring, or like just, selfies, that kind of stuff. But I've recently bought a really nice point and shoot camera because I wasn't getting what I wanted quality wise from taking photos of my son and my personal life, and which I would have done on my iPhone. But if I want a good photograph and not just content for social media, then I would always shoot it on a digital camera.
Do you find that the photos you take, like when you switch from the device, from the iPhone to the point and shoot camera, do you find that your intent to, or your, I guess you could say, like, I'm going to use the word intent, your intent changes?
I'm much more purposeful with my camera. Yeah. I think about when I'm shooting a lot more rather than, because I used to shoot film first. And so you think about it more because it costs more of the process. Like every shot costs money. But I think also just looking through a viewfinder automatically because it's my job as well, puts me into a different mindset of like, I'm now looking for a viewfinder. So I'm now trying to get a photograph. And I take my camera out with me. Like I have it here today with me.
I know.
Like, and so it's like, if I take my camera out, it's there purposefully for me to take a photograph with. Like, and it's now my go-to rather than my phone. Like I bought a nice camera. And so it was like, if I'm going to buy this, I need to use it as if it is my go-to thing. Like it has to replace my iPhone. And I'm not somebody that keeps up with iPhone technology. I don't have the newest iPhone. I don't have the one with like 9 cameras on the back of it. Like I have a pretty standard one in relation to what the new one is. And so the quality I get from my iPhone to my camera is very different.
I thought if I started carrying a phone, not a phone, but a camera on me, I would be more apt to take photos.
Yeah.
And I realized that doesn't happen.
I think it's content and photography is the 2 different things. If you take it on your iPhone, it's...
Well, for me, it's just even like documenting like family outfits. Like I just don't, and I have to switch in my head that like yes, I need to enjoy the moment, be present in it, but sometimes you also kind of want to remember that too.
Yeah.
And your memory at some point is going to fade.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it with my grandma.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, I have to like be consciously like overly aware, like be in the moment.
Yeah.
But take a photo.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I think having a camera separate, I'm the worst person. Then my wife will praise me for saying it, but I'm the worst person for like, I'll take a photo and I'll just automatically like flick into Instagram, not even thinking about it. Or like I'll read the news and flick into some form of social media without even really realizing that I'm doing that. Like, and having something that's completely separate so you can be in the moment, whether that's with family or on set or anything like that. It just separates those 2 things and stops me from getting distracted into just endless scrolling.
Oh yeah. Well, I think also too, for me, it feels like anytime I am about to take a photo, the notification pops up, you know, like, oh, such said this, you know, you have an email you have to read or something. Yeah. So child number 2. Yeah. You get much sleep?
He's been pretty good. But to be honest, my wife's been breastfeeding, so I've not had much to do in the evening. And so, but we're sleeping not too bad. He's just started daycare, which has been traumatic. Mainly for my wife. I couldn't wait. No, it's a shift definitely.
Are you finding time management different?
Yeah.
How so?
It made me realize how much free time that I had with one, which at a time when I had the one child, Ezra, I didn't think I had any time. And then I had the second kid, who's Atlas, and Atlas now takes up more time. And now I really don't have any time, but it made me realize how much time I had with one child. And then what the fuck was I doing with my life the rest of the time? Like what have I done prior to children that I could have done knowing how much time I had? If that makes sense.
No. Okay. So earlier you mentioned, I was like, I don't want to talk about this. Hold off on this.
Yeah.
My wife and I have this conversation constantly.
Yeah.
We talk about this all the time. She's like, if I knew how much time I actually had.
Yeah.
And it reminds me, there's this cartoon that was, they used these video game characters from a video game called Halo.
Yeah.
Do you remember Halo?
Yeah.
I never played it. But it was a cartoon called Red versus Blue. And they had this whole thing about tattoos. I thought it was hysterical because I thought it was applicable to everything in life. It goes, like red was all about tattoos and blue was against tattoos. Like, I'm just going to summarize it. And like red was like, he's like, why should you get a tattoo? He's like, because they're cool and because they are awesome. Like that was like his whole reasoning, right? And the one guy who was against the tattoos, he goes, take your age, subtract 10. Were you smarter then or were you smarter now? You're smarter now. It just took you 10 years to figure out you were a damn idiot 10 years ago. Take the drawings that you did when you were 7. You want those on your bodies now? Nope. It's because you were a damn idiot. And like he had this whole thing.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that's everything in life. I'm 41. Yeah. I look at the time I left on the table in my 30s.
Yeah.
And I just keep thinking, once I hit 50, in 9 more years, when I hit 50, I'm going to think, how did I even think I was tired in my 40s?
Yeah. Kids, I love them sticks, but I don't know what I was doing with my time before children.
So advice, people, advice. If you don't have kids,
use your time wisely.
yeah. And if you think having a dog takes up a lot of your time, just remember you can put them in a kennel and leave the house for 6 hours and no one's calling the cops on you.
Experience.
My grandma did that to my great uncle.
Family kennel.
A rabbit cage.
Amazing.
Oh yeah. She wanted to go to like the mall with her friends. Keep in mind, like, my grandma is now in her 70s, maybe like probably early 80s now. I forget. Anyways, she put my great uncle, who was her little brother, in the rabbit cage because my great grandma told her to make sure to watch him and make sure he's safe while she had left the house. And she got a phone call. It's like, well, I want to go to my friend. So she like locked him in the rabbit cage because he was safe.
Amazing.
In the house.
It's good. It's kid logic. It's good.
I always forget how much hair you have.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
Don't see. That's what we need to do. We need to start changing people apologizing for having a lot of hair. That's not like it's a negative. It's not like, think about it. As a guy, you want to have as much hair as possible.
Mm-hmm.
You want to start out with all the hair because you just don't know if you get to keep it. All right. I want you to run your hands through your hair. Just kind of like feel.
Yeah, the waist nice.
The top, I don't want to take too short.
Yeah.
It's not even short. I don't want to take too much out of it because I like the longer your hair gets, you get this cool, like really big, like bend.
Waves. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that. And I would like to encourage it. So I'm just going to put some like little C curves in here that will hopefully kick up the curl a little bit. Anything new you're working on right now that you can talk about? And I always say that just I'm assuming everybody's working on something they can't talk about.
Yeah. I got a shot a friend, like a friend who's an actress in Austin recently, which has been cool. So I'm submitting that to some magazines.
Is she an actress I would know?
If you watch horror movies, her name's Stephanie. She's really great. She's based here in Austin. She's actually a girlfriend of a videographer that I worked with called Evan Adams. And they're just really cool people. But it was an opportunity that I couldn't turn down. Like she was in town. It was like, yeah, let's just do something fun. So, but she's like, she seems to be in the genre of horror.
I wouldn't know. That's like a genre I stay away from.
Yeah.
Not that I hate the genre. As I've gotten older, I found myself enjoying more rom-coms, specifically before 2010. Like
we're going back to our last conversation. I don't know when the last time I watched a movie was.
Yeah. That's cool. Was that during South by?
You were just after. Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. Did you do anything during South by?
No.
You didn't take the kids to go, hey, let's do the South by thing.
No, to be honest, I'm a 90-year-old in a 30-year-old's body. I go into that kind of stuff where there's way too many people. I'm not really into it.
I think it's funny that you're having these thoughts in your 30s. I didn't have these thoughts until like 3 months ago.
I don't really people, man.
We gotta go out and do something.
Well, I appreciated the last time you took me out. That was a cool conversation. Hey, Rob, what are you doing? Be in my house at 6. Cool. Okay. What are we doing? It's like we're going to do something cool. And then we go and see the killers.
They were in town. Brandon gave me a text and said, we're playing Austin. If you want tickets, let me know.
Did you do Slipknot? Did you go and see them?
What?
Slipknot when they were in town.
Nah, I saw them the time before that. There's a couple shows that are coming through that I want to see. Pantera is playing. It's obviously not the original lineup, but I'd be very curious to see because I like Zach Wilde as a guitar player. So I would like to see that. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, Metallica would be cool.
That would be cool.
My buddy Ronnie plays bass in Mammoth, which is the band that Wolfgang Van Halen frontman of.
Yeah.
And they're on that tour.
Oh, nice.
So that would be a really cool thing to see. But they're playing in Arlington. And it's a day that I work in the salon. So I can't imagine myself getting up there in time, a whole day at the salon, and driving 3 hours or something.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm just surprised that they're not playing like maybe San Antonio as well.
Yeah.
Because Rammstein played San Antonio at the Alamo Dome, which is a huge, huge venue.
Yeah.
And that's a venue Metallica can easily fill up.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping. We'll see. It'll be really interesting to see what happens as more people keep coming to Austin.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think because the new Moody's probably not big enough. So,
Well, they also do arenas, like outdoor arenas.
yeah.
So I don't think they want to do like 5 nights in a row, like how Bruce Springsteen will do 5 nights in a row and charge an insane amount of money. Speaking of tickets, and did you hear anything about The Cure and their ticket prices?
No.
Oh yeah. So the first thing that happened with the ticket prices with what's her name?
Taylor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so basically Robert Smith like got a good chunk of some of the tickets refunded back to the fans because of the scalpers and the price gouging and all that. And it was actually like really cool that he did that for the fans. And I think more people now are like more aware of the price fixing, if you will.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yep. I remember the last time I went to a gig where I was able to buy a ticket directly from where it originally came from, like the original website or from the actual gig website kind of thing or tour website.
Yeah. I just remember at one point there was these Tower Records, and then there was Sam Goody, The Warehouse. There were several. You would just be able to go buy like a magazine, buy CDs, and then be like, oh, I want to buy concert tickets. It was just like an all at one stop.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to shave underneath your hairline, so you don't have that that boxed in squareness in the back. I'm going to put a little bit of leave-in, and then I'm going to put a more like a oily kind of product. When I say oily, it goes in, it squirts out like a cream, and then you rub it through your hands, and then it turns into like an oil. Because I want to overuse the product to kind of create a little bit of a weight.
Okay.
And then it's just going to make your hair a lot softer. So it's not like a paste or a clay.
Cool.
So it's going to have zero hole. It's just going to look more separated. But I got to blow out the loose hair real quick. All right. This one little piece right here. Just gonna break that up. Going to be heading back over to England this summer, so the whole family can get to see the little one again.
Maybe. I feel like this might be our last year, depending on what happens economy-wise, all that kind of stuff. Like, I think having 2 kids now and not having family around, like that immediate support, which I definitely wouldn't have thought I would have said when I moved out here. But not having that support, but also just having those people around the kids.
Yeah.
Like Atlas is nearly 3. Sorry, Ezra's nearly 3. Alice is 5, 6 months. And so it's, just having that network of people. So we'll see what happens work-wise. Like, even if it's not, I don't know, these conversations about us maybe going back, but also maybe trying somewhere else in the States for a little while.
Yeah.
Just depending on what works out with work.
Yeah.
Texas is really hot. Last summer was not fun.
Yeah. Last summer was definitely warm. Funny enough, is I think it wasn't so much as how hot it was. I think last year for me is that summer started earlier and it ended later.
It's like 100 days of 100 plus degrees.
Yeah, I know. I know. It was hot. I'm not saying it wasn't.
Yeah.
I think for me, if it had started like on July 4th and it ended, Labor Day, September, it would have been fine.
Fine.
So I want you to touch your hair and feel how wet this is.
Yeah.
That's the level of wetness.
To put stuff in it.
Yeah. If you want it to be, see how you start seeing that separation? Yeah. And it's wet, but you don't see that when it's dry. So the goal is to somehow capture that same amount of separation and just putting lots of product in when it's wet is what we're going to do. So,
And what did you spray in before it?
I just put leave-in conditioner, thermopurology, and then I just use a Shine Bright taming serum. I have the worst memory of naming of products. Thankfully, for the most part, all of the Pureology products are like really like easy. It's like that shampoo that's in the red container. It's called Smooth Perfection or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's really easy. I remember when I was working for L'Oreal and the salon had a whole bunch of Kerastase. Everything's in French.
Brilliant.
Do you know what it's like for me to learn French? It's awful. I don't know any French.
Yeah. And then you're still pronouncing it wrong.
Kerastase, or I'm like, whatever. I just remember like, see that green bottle? That's the one you want. Like, I just remember things by the bottles they come in and what they do. I'll be like, it's this, there's 2 short ones. One has a round shoulder, one has a square shoulder. The square shoulders is the ones you need. And then, for the most part, I just know this is the one that you rub in your hands and it turns into oil. That's how I remember this. And I think for the most part, like clients are never going to remember the names of products. They usually remember like what they look like, what they smell, and what they do.
Yeah.
So like the product name is kind of irrelevant. It could be called, well, this is product 1, 2, 3, 4. If you had a whole numbering system, people just, that would be even easier. Yeah. I use product 44. Oh, 44. Here we go. 40, that'd actually be easier.
Yeah.
Than like a name. That's what you should do. You should go into business of that. So name this, come up with products, and then you could do all of your own product photography.
Do everybody else's.
All right, just gonna put a little bit more in, and then I'm just gonna dry it around with the diffuser. Okay, so the diffuser is just there to emulate the air dry. So just move your hand however you want it to look like, because this is your hair now. You own it. You're taking it home.
I do. That's how much I do.
There you go.
That's what I do in the morning.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. So now I'm just gonna move this out of your face a little bit, because that will. And if you notice, I'm using my fingers more like a rake, and I'm not like, I don't have mittens on. I'm not like strong bad emails. And then let's do. There it is. And I'm just going to use this to get your hair about, I don't know, 60% dry.
Okay.
I don't want it to get overly dry. I just want it to get some of that water off, and then let nature take its course. Because that's what you're going to do, because you're not going to do this. I'm doing this to speed up air drying. Yeah, like that's so that way when you're leaving, you're like, oh yeah, that's predictable.
That's what my hair looks like.
Yeah. Not like, surprise.
Yeah.
It's doing all this other stuff. So do you have any wild photography stories like that you feel you would want to share, where you're like, you can share that?
It can just even be something like nothing like scandalous. I'm not looking for gossip. I had there's many feeling some of the people that I've worked with and stuff, like wives shagging their bodyguards in the toilet and like having to stop their partner coming to pick them up, kind of thing, like delaying. Just stuff like that. I ended up at a party with what's his face from
Maybe it's good we don't know who it is.
God, it's just gone out of my head. Plenty of parties. Who is it? Was the lead singer of Guns N' Roses, Axl Rose?
Oh yeah,
he just turned up for like a random photographer's kind of house party, like stuff like that. I did go to Heidi Klum's anniversary party. That was pretty sick. While she was still married to Seal, that was pretty wild.
He seemed like a cool guy.
Yeah, that was cool.
Seemed like a tall guy.
Very tall, very charismatic.
And the only reason I say he seems tall is because he was always taller than her, and she's tall.
And she's tall.
So you know.
Just like the trips were fun. Lots of trips. Like I got to travel the world a lot, so like lots of stories just like that. Assistants getting into trouble, getting deported, just crazy stuff. That's crazy stuff.
What was one of your favorite locations that you shot at?
We shot on the we did Germany's Next Top Model. And it was like we were doing a photo shoot to be filmed. There's the TV show. We hung models off the side of a camel racing course in Dubai. So we flew out to Dubai and we built this like huge like scaffolding, and we're just shooting models dangling like to their deaths. It's like it's
By their feet?
Yeah, with a like harnessed in.
Okay.
And they're in like these huge elaborate dresses. And this race course only gets used like twice a year. Like one for the Sultan's birthday, who also has his own private motorway to it that no one else can drive on.
That's cool.
But it's a camel racing thing. And yeah, we're just hanging the models off like the edge of this thing, and they're all terrified. It's like absolutely terrified. That was kind of fun.
Do you have a photo of that? Video?
Fine. I imagine it's on YouTube. Like, Germany's Next Top Model, like, and just Dubai. And yeah, it was a stupid day. That was a fun day.
That sounded. I have a fear of heights, so
it was wild.
I'm thinking that would be.
It's also because like they're not actually models yet, and so like you're putting them through stuff which like even some like top models probably wouldn't do, but you're putting them through stuff which
They're earning their stripes.
yeah,
Rob, they're earning their stripes.
yeah, it was funny.
Like in credit, dangly model number 5.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
it was a wild. But I always like shooting in New York and LA. I like the studios. My favorite studios are in LA. They're just the nicest.
In LA.
Yeah, Milk. Yeah,
Yeah.
Milk's a beautiful studio.
It's a great studio. We did a L'Oreal campaign there, and
I can tell you a funny story in that one.
we just ran into Kim and Kanye,
That's kind of cool.
and they were both quite short. I knew she was short, but I didn't realize that he was not much taller.
Yeah,
And I was just like,
we were.
I'm like, because most celebrities are not tall.
Yeah, but you always perceive them just because of their personalities or how big they are on social media, right? And so you just automatically think they're bigger.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few. I mean, Nicolas Cage was tall. He's like 6'3" or something. I was always surprised. I'm like, oh, hi.
We were shooting Gap Kids in Milk. And I was like, I can smell weed. Like, I can smell like a lot of it. I was either like, and you can't smoke in there or shouldn't smoke in there.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
And I was like, and they do the kids, they're like 5-year-old kids, like Gap campaign. So I was like, it's not them. It could be the parent that's just gone out or whatever. But it was all day. I was like, it was really strong all day. And then the foyer of Milk Studios is a table tennis thing. And like after we'd finished and tied it up, it was quite a short shoot because it's kids. So the shoot probably ended about like 2-3 o'clock. And we're all just playing table tennis out in that kind of like foyer bit. And the next thing, like this kind of the studio next door's like doors open, and it's this plume of like smoke comes out. And the next thing is Snoop Dogg. It's like entire entourage of like dudes, like, and it was ridiculous. And they all come out, and then we just ended up side playing just table tennis with them for like 3 hours afterwards. It's great, but it explains why I could smell it so much.
I mean, if you're gonna smoke pot,
if there was one person that was going to do that in LA,
yeah,
in Milk Studios,
him. I think to me, there's like a short list of people. If you're like I've never smoked weed in my life, right? Yeah. But if I run into Willie Nelson,
yeah,
I'm saying yes.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I think I would be very wary of Snoop Dogg.
Yeah,
because I imagine what he has is really strong. I was warned years ago to never smoke the weed at that time with the guys from Cypress Hill.
Mm-hmm.
The person who told me this was like, look, man, I've done every drug in the book. I've OD'd before. I know what it's like to die or almost die from drugs.
Yeah.
He's like, and I thought that was going to happen after I smoked the blunt. These guys. and like,
just a blunt.
Yeah. And all I kept thinking about was like, what's in this?
Yeah. What is that doing to me?
And I was telling a story to another buddy of mine, and he smoked with another musician who's in that group.
Yeah.
And they all smoked the same particular strain of marijuana. And he told me that he's from the East Coast. He's like, he's like, yeah, you want to roll a blunt? He's like, yeah, I can do a blunt. He's like totally shit talking and like acting all tough, right?
Yeah.
He said he could not move his body for like hours off the couch. He was just frozen on the couch. And he said like his mind was moving, but his mouth wasn't working. His arms, he couldn't move his arms. And he just sat there for like hours.
So I want to be in that situation.
Man, so all it did is it proved that person helped me dodge a bullet.
Yeah.
There isn't, I don't know how true it is or not, but it's like always like these little, the internet memes. You just never know. Like, it's like you just don't know if it's actually them who sent it or whatever. But one of them was like Snoop Dogg talking about he's never been more high in his life than when he was smoking with Willie Nelson.
Can probably imagine that.
And I'm like, that's frightening.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, dude. I think we're good.
Perfect.
Got your shagginess going on. Little kick out back. Gotta show the back. Do the full thing.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So it's definitely a little shaggier, but it's not Linka.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And if anybody wants to find you on social media, what is your handles or websites?
Rob Oades Studio. That's my handle on
Rob Oades Studio.
Yeah.
Is that also your .com?
You can find me via that. roboades.co.uk or .com or Rob Oades Studio.
All right.
All those will find me.
Cool. And any advice for young photographers that you wish somebody would have told you from the very beginning?
Just shoot continuously.
Yeah.
Just as much as you possibly can. Yeah. Like even like any free time. That free time is really important. But shoot as much as possible, even if it works out being crap.
Yeah, because it's the not stopping part that I find is the continuous thing when I've asked people like what made them feel like they got to that next level. I go, I just kept going, even if it sucked. I just knew it's not going to suck forever.
Just even recently, like I shot a cool campaign for Eastpak backpacks, and they saw some personal work that I did where I just went to a skate park.
Yeah,
just took random photos of people at a skate park, and they're the photos that they saw that me getting me the job. And it was just something completely personal that I didn't plan on really shooting, but I just knew I wanted to go out and take photos for that day. But like just taking photos continuously, like doesn't have to be planned or whatever else, or within your genre of photography. Like if you're a fashion photographer, it doesn't mean you can't go out and take a landscape. Like it might get you the job.
Yeah.
So,
awesome. Cool. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Later.